Soulbound Online claims to be a pixel art, bullet haven MMORPG. Sounds like someone locked the suits in a boardroom, made them stare at the Steam top seller list, and refused to open the door until they slapped every trending keyword onto one title. But I had to see you log in, you're stuck spending the first 10 hours of your life delivering letters to perfectly capable guards, picking weeds, and killing 10 rats, just so you can earn a privilege to kill 20 slightly larger rats. It's a genre built on friction, delayed gratification. The Soulbound doesn't do that. The devs strip the friction right out. The game drops you straight into the beginner's bay character creator before you can even process what's happening. The creator itself is exactly what you expect from an indie pixel game. You got a few skin tones, a handful of outfits and hairstyle ranging from generic protagonist to a spiky generic protagonist. I spent 2 minutes looking for a bald option, nothing. So I ended up with some ridiculous anime protagonist haircut that defied gravity. It is what it is, a pixel game. Doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. I typed the name, hit create, and within minutes I was standing in the actual game world. No bloated backstory, no cutscene about ancient evils waking up from 1,000-year slumber, no exposition dump from a glowing orb telling me I'm the chosen one. Just the guy with the terrible hair arriving at a hub town called Beginner's Bay. You talk to exactly one NPC who basically says, "Here is a weapon, go into the hole." Enough setup, that pretty much establishes the premise. Time to look at the actual combat. I followed the NPC into the first dungeon room to see how the combat loop actually plays. The combat starts as simple as it gets. You walk around, there's no dodge roll, no crazy platforming mechanics, just pure fundamental positioning. Music kicks in immediately, chaotic hype BPM arcade chiptune track that fits the pixel art aesthetic perfectly. My primary attack ran on a strict cooldown, so the early moments were just me hitting enemies, waiting for the timer. You kill the pixelated monsters, they drop experience gems, and you level up. As standard bullet haven rules apply, but the pacing moves incredibly fast. Within a minute, we hit the level 3 upgrade screen. The action pauses to offer some upgrades. It's a standard choice you expect. You can grab a critical hit chance, a massive swing size modifier, or just secure a reliable flat damage increase. Any veteran knows flat damage is almost always the correct answer in the first few minutes. You need to hit the breakpoint to one-shot the basic trash mobs, but swing size just looks way cooler on screen. I took the swing size. Ultimately wanted my weapon animation take up most of my monitor. Honestly, a solid choice and fantastic visual one. We pushed deeper into the room, found a chest, popped it open, and pulled out a fireball skill. Now we actually have a build going. That fireball completely clears the robotic enemies spawning in front of us. Feels incredibly strong for an early drop. We push into the next sector. Enemy density starts ramping up hard. More robots keep swarming from edges of the screen. The matrix of incoming bullets gets tighter, forcing me to thread the needle. I hit another upgrade screen. Attack speed, critical hit, and damage. This time I took the flat damage. Enemies were getting too thick to rely on massive slow swings. The core loop here is exactly what you want from Bullet Haven. It plays incredibly fast and feels instantly satisfying. But dungeons drop loot, your inventory slowly fills up with materials and currencies. What do we do with all this garbage? This is where the MMORPG aspect starts bleeding into the traditional Bullet Haven framework. I finished the run, extracted from the dungeon, and ended up back in the hub world. I needed a place to actually look at my loot and figure out character progression. Turns out you can actually own an apartment in this game. I walked through the door into the empty, depressing little squared room. No furniture, nobody there, just me and bare hardwood floor. Felt less like a hero's sanctuary and more like a studio apartment you rent when you hit rock bottom. I decided to buy some stuff to make it feel like a home. And by home, I mean like a fully functional sweatshop. Opened the build menu and placed down my first manufacturing station. Dropped a massive weapon crafting bench right in the middle of the living room. But there's a basic logistics system here. The stations won't just work on its own. You need a power source. You gotta build a generator to run the weapon station. So I shoved the loud industrial generator into the corner of the room and wired it up. Now my apartment looks like an unlicensed factory operating outside of city zoning laws. I walked up to the station, deposited my materials, and crafted a katana. This is the macro progression loop. Dive into the pixelated meat grinder, collect random garbage, bring it back to your illegal apartment factory, and craft better gear. It's simple closed loop system, but it's undeniably addictive. You want to keep diving back into the dungeons, just to see if you can harvest enough materials for the next tier of weapons. I stepped out of the hub and queued up for the another dungeon. This is where the game stops holding your hand and just starts throwing filling cabinets at your head. Difficulty spike hits like a vertical wall. and absolute garbage passive rolls doomed my run from the very start. Every time I leveled up, I got offered upgrade with 0 synergy for my current loadout. I wanted some AoE damage. I got single target debuffs. I was actively making my character worse with every choice. Then the relic screen popped up. I was so desperate for anything remotely useful. I grabbed the toxic relic, completely countered my build. Terrible choice. But the green skull icon looked threatening, and I figured it had to do damage. Massive mistake. The harsh reality of the bullet heaven genre set in. These games rely on very specific math tipping points. If your damage output falls even slightly behind enemy health scaling, you don't just struggle to clear waves, you get completely buried. The screen turned into a literal bullet hell blender, too many projectiles, enemy density got thick. I couldn't even see the floor texture anymore. I couldn't jump or squat my way out of this one. The swarm backed me right into the corner of the arena. I thought I might actually die here. Right as a massive wave of glowing red pixels collapsed on my character model, my build was a disaster, a masterclass in how not to play a roguelike. I managed to survive, but it highlighted the grind. It's not just combat grind. At one point, I had to farm bell peppers and potatoes because Grandma NPC gave me a quest to feed the town. So between the bullet hell runs, I'm literally growing crops. Ran back into the dungeon with the new stats. The screen just filled with lightning damage and massive hitboxes. I couldn't see my character anymore, just numbers, flashing lights, and dead enemies. So is this just a solo visual noise simulator? Or does the MMO part of the title actually matter? This isn't your traditional MMORPG. If you come in expecting massive 40-man raids, deep guild politics, and server-wide economy manipulation, you're in the wrong place. But seeing other actual people running around the hub town does seem important for the atmosphere, makes the world feel alive. You see players buzzing around on their hoverboards. It is genuinely pretty cool. It builds an illusion of massive world, built entirely around small chaotic co-op sessions. I didn't actually dive into the co-op during my 2 hours, but the potential is obvious. If the chaos is this intense solo, adding 2 more friends, throwing out screen clearing abilities must be glorious. Blinding mess. It seems like the kind of game that turns the stressful solo grind into a massive co-op blender if you have a group. Then I stepped out onto the world map. This was the final piece of the polish that completely sold me on the concept. It has this old school Final Fantasy world map feel. You play as a giant pixel sprite walking between different nodes and towns. Eventually, following the quest line, I put a Caltron into the wild, had some quiet moment of downtime between the chaos. Combining a fast-paced roguelite dungeon running with an MMO hub progression actually works. Does it actually respect your time in the late game? 2 hours isn't enough to know for sure, but right now it gives you immediate dopamine hit of a survivor game with the long-term progression tail of an MMO. I went into the demo expecting a cynical cash grab. Instead, I found a chaotic co-op experience I actually want to keep on playing. Tell me in the comments how you feel about Soulbound Online. I'd love to hear it. Thanks for watching. I see you in the next one. Back to the grind.